Hi everyone, my name is Jessica and I really want to do a year in review video. I've seen a few of them going around and I don't want it to be too cringe that I do one too, but throughout the year, because of COVID and because of everything else, I've really found myself forgetting some of the things that have been going on, and it's been a pretty big year. So I thought, why not do like a year in review video? It's mostly going to be me talking to this camera, and if I'm being really honest, I'm doing this for me because I want to remember this in the future. I don't want 2020 just to be the year that COVID hit and nothing else really important happened, because for me some really interesting stuff has happened and I'm going to go through it in this video. There won't be like, this isn't fancy editing or anything like that. I don't have time for that. I'm just going to record it to a camera. I'm maybe going to edit it out if I like cry or something horrible, but apart from that, it's literally just going to be me talking to the camera. I'm probably going to upload this to YouTube or something similar, mainly to force myself to actually have this conversation with myself. So if you're watching this, like, hey, hello, welcome. And if it's me in the future watching this, like, hey, hello, hope you remember to do all those things that you probably forgot to do. All right, cool. So grab a drink. I've got a Diet Coke here. Yeah. Okay, right. So I've had a drink. It's a very noisy straw. I've had a drink. I've had a think about my year. I've had to think about what I've achieved this year, some of the stuff that have held me back or held me back this year. Some of my biggest mistakes, which I think will be quite interesting to kind of deep dive into, and what my plans are for 2021. I originally wrote what my plans for 2020, forgetting that like literally now is 2020 and probably a bit too late for making plans in the last few days of the year. So this is literally just going to be it, right? I'm going to go through those few topics. I'll probably have timestamps and stuff in the video description below. I think now is the point that the YouTube algorithm asks me to ask you to like the video, subscribe and all that great stuff. If you like this would be quite interesting. All right, let's do 2020 year in review. Oh, it's gonna be so exciting. Before we do the year in review, just who am I and why the heck am I doing this YouTube video? So for those who don't know, hi, my name is Jessica and I'm a transgender woman in London, and I'm gonna give my age because it makes me sound really old, but I'm like 20 something, right? That's old in the queer community. I'm not really too sure. Let me know in the comments, like, how old is old? I don't know. Anyway, I'm feeling it this year. So it's me. I work in tech or like tech associated stuff. Of course I do. I'm a trans woman. Most trans women do, I think. At least that's my experience. I've been transitioning for a few years now, and I don't know. I've got some cool tattoos and stuff. Like, we'll go into that in the video, maybe. I don't know. I have green hair now. That's a pretty new thing for 2020. Okay, right. We're going into what's happened this year, which isn't the right thing to do. So instead, let's go through my 2020 year in review. I'm going to start with what did I achieve this year, and I've done a professional version of this as well, where like I don't wear my normal clothes, I wear professional clothes and all that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in like work related professional stuff, there should be like something here or here maybe. I don't really know how this works on YouTube yet, but there'll be like a pop-up and you can click it and be like, oh, what are the professional things that have happened this year? In this video I'm going to go into just the personal ones because I think I want to distinguish between those two things. I think it's quite important to try and keep a barrier between them where I can, especially given the type of work that I do. That might be quite good. So for the sake of this, what I'm going to talk about is the stuff that I achieved, like personal me achieved. So like, Jessica, what did I achieve? So okay, hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I'm rambling, I don't know. But some of the things I achieved in 2020. Number one, I survived COVID in like all meanings of the word. So maybe I'll do a video on this, but I actually got COVID. Like, I actually had COVID-19 and I was like in the back of an ambulance and like rushed to hospital and all that type of like nearly put on a ventilator and like all that sort of stuff. So not only did I survive the like lockdowns and all the mental health stuff that goes around with like not being able to see people and be social and do all the stuff that we would normally do as like social humans and social animals, but I also had the disease itself and I survived. And that's pretty cool. Let me know in the comments or like DM me or something if you're interested in what the story about how I survived COVID and whether that's worth going into. I don't really know. It is, because it's quite interesting as a story. It was like my first week of work as well. It was really bad. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, my transition continues to be quite successful, at least by every metric that I can think of as success. So, like my HRT, like my hormone levels are at the right level. My electrolysis is like maybe 50% done. I don't really know how you can put a number on those sort of things because there's always more hair on my body, but it's getting there, which is good. And like turfs are really annoyed at me all the time, which like makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Other things I achieved this year, I did my hair green. Look at this, how cool is this? I'm pretty happy about that. I've always wanted to dye my hair green, and I've always been like, no, I need to be professional, and like, no, I need to like look a certain way and whatever. And I'm like, do you know what? No, 2020 is the year where like it's late stage capitalism meets global pandemic at the same time, and I'm here and I'm surviving, and I'm gonna dye my hair whatever hecking colour I want to dye my hair. And so far it's working really well. People seem to like it. Let me know if you like it. Actually, what colour should I go next? I don't really know. We'll see. I also custom built a desk and like a floor to ceiling wardrobe and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I'll like in the editing, I'll try and like flash photos up of what this looks like. And or like the editing Jess will pop in and say like, hey, we managed to do this, or actually we couldn't work out how to do this in Adobe Premiere Pro. But I don't know, we'll try and do that. But those are like the main things I did. It doesn't seem like a lot of things, but on top of that, and I cover some of this in my professional video, I also like started a brand new job and I left The Guardian. There was a lot of like weirdness there. Let me know if I should do a video about that. I think those are like the main milestones of things I achieved. It doesn't sound like a lot. It's probably because it isn't a lot. I would have loved to achieve like so much more. I'm in 2021. I'm sure I will. I'm trying to do this stuff now to set myself up for success. But just because of COVID and treated lockdowns really seriously and still do, like I'm still social distancing all the time, and like we haven't created bubbles and all that sort of stuff. Like I've just as much as possible like stayed away from humans. Like I crossed the road when people are walking on the other side and stuff like that. Just because I've had COVID, like I know how bad it is, so I wanted to like avoid that for other people and not try and like, even if I have immunity or whatever happens now, I don't even know, but like I don't want to be the person who passed on to someone else. So yeah, anyway, because of all those things, I haven't done hardly anything that I was planning to do this year, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm still pretty happy with how this year's gone. Like my transition is going really, really well. I'm super happy about that. I survived, basically. I think is worth celebrating. Who knows? So the next one, the next section is the what held me back section. So this is kind of generally like, if this was a retrospective, which I guess it is, it's my personal retrospective on the year, like thinking about it critically, what are some of the things that I did to hold myself back? And I guess at the start of the year, I struggled with confidence, quite a lot. Yeah, it was not a great start to the year in like the first 3 months. I guess I didn't feel confident in myself and like how I looked and how I was presenting and my past, and like I used to care about all that sort of stuff. And now I'm like, hey, this is me, and like, great, cool. Life will continue. So now I've gained a lot of that confidence, especially like post having COVID-19. At that point, like laying in a hospital bed, like potentially about to be put on a ventilator and like maybe dying, or like, I don't know, like some bad stuff. It really got me thinking, like, I don't need to hold myself to all these like really high standards, and you know, my body needs to look in a certain way and whatever. And like, I still have dysphoria in terms of like certain aspects of my body looking in certain ways, which is something that we'll get onto in like another section of the video. Yeah, I guess I really struggled with confidence, and I let that really hold me back at the start of the year. So like not going out and like talking with friends as much and stuff like that, and that was a huge mistake, because little did I know we were going to spend like 10 months of the year inside, and that sucks. And I guess the other point about what held me back was not meeting people in real life prior to COVID. So I guess prior to COVID because of like confidence issues, but also like during COVID as well, obviously not being able to go to restaurants, like even outside of lockdowns and stuff like that, I still didn't. And like I haven't been like, as someone who lives in central London, like saying that I haven't been to a restaurant in 10 months is like, what are you doing? This is crazy. Like that's basically the lifestyle, or like that's the lifestyle I was leading before, and obviously I'm not doing that now. So yeah, I guess yeah, those are the things that held me back. I wish I didn't do them. I wish they weren't the case, but they were. And I feel like I was less of the possible person I could have been because of those things. The next section is what were my biggest mistakes? And I think this is quite interesting because mistakes mean different things for different people, and the severity can mean like wildly different things for different people too. So yeah, this is just like what I found were my mistakes, and I guess like we'll see whether you agree that they were mistakes. I don't really know. I don't know whether I care whether you agree whether they were mistakes or not, because it's my retrospective. That sounds really horrible. I'm sorry, I don't mean that to be horrible. I mean that is in like, these were big things for me, and they might not be big things for you when you listen to this or view this video, but for me they were big things. So what were my biggest mistakes of the year? So I closed myself off more than I probably should have done in retrospect, isn't, because that's the whole point of this. Like looking back, I wish I would have gone out more. And I don't mean like to restaurants and bars and pubs and all that sort of stuff. I mean just like gone for social distance walks and like had more picnics in the park. Obviously, 6 meters apart or 2 meters apart or whatever the new number is. After like lockdown 1, 2 and after lockdown 3 finishes, like I wish I would have done that more, especially over the summer. I was in parks like myself, like I'd take a book and it'd be really nice, or I'd take like some snacks myself or something, or like go for really, really long walks. Like that's one of my favourite things to do, but I missed the opportunity to meet like new and interesting people and get to know people, and all of the good social side about living in a big city like London is something that just didn't happen this year, and that's a real shame. One of the other things in terms of my biggest mistakes of the year, I didn't push the NHS as hard as I should have done in order to get the Gender Identity Clinic, or GIC, to prescribe whatever medication they felt like they should prescribe. It's something that I've been waiting almost 3 years for, and that's not news for any trans people who are watching this video, especially trans folks in the UK, but for all my cis friends out there, yeah, it's hard. So I'm still on private medication for the best part of 3 years, and I still am waiting for my first ever appointment at the NHS. And I rang them, I think, twice this year, once towards the start and once over the summer, just to check in on where I was, where my progress was on the queue, and like when I would be seen for the first time, and all this sort of stuff. And at the start of the year, the reception people who I spoke to, once they finally agreed that it was the right person they were speaking to, and all that great stuff, it's a real pain to speak to them sometimes. They're doing a great job and they're just super underfunded. That's, I think, what the problem is. But let me know if you think there are different problems. I'm very interested to have a chat about that. I think I should have pushed them harder. So when I rang them towards the start of the year, I was told that I would be seen in the last 3 months of this year. And we are now December the 29th at the date of filming this, and I still haven't been seen. When I called them in the summer, so when I called them for the second time of the year, they said that I was meant to be seen in the last 3 months of the year, so they confirmed what they'd said at the start of the year. However, because of like staff shortages and holidays and all that sort of stuff, and COVID as well, right, they've switched everything to online, which is awesome and arguably makes it way easier for everybody. However, because of all of that like shifting change, they probably wouldn't see me, and they weren't able to give me an updated date because they were still expecting the last 3 months of the year for me to have my first ever appointment, and that didn't happen. And I just let it slip by because I did, and I think that was a mistake. I think I should have pushed harder for it. I've done loads of work this year for the NHS, and if you're interested in some of that work, you should either here or here, wherever the button pops up is. I'll put the link to my professional video review of the year, which talks about a lot of the NHS work that I've done. I guess I could have utilised that more and been like, hey, maybe there's something we can do here. Like, not in like a quid pro quo, not in like a you scratch your back, I'll scratch yours. Like, I'm not, that's not good. What I'm suggesting is like, I was inside of those places and working with those individuals, not necessarily the GIC, not necessarily those specific individuals and those specific doctors, but in general, working with doctors inside of the NHS. And it would have been a great opportunity for me to kind of like get more attention to this thing, perhaps, I don't know. But then, having just said that out loud, maybe that wouldn't have been a good thing to do, because like obviously COVID is a whole thing. Yeah, those are my two biggest mistakes. I guess my third one I'd add on, thinking about it now, is during lockdowns I kind of closed myself off. Like I talked to my friends, I talked to my family, or talked to some of my family, and that's really great and lovely. But I didn't put myself out there in terms of like dating side of things and meeting new people. And now I'm like reinstalling stuff like Bumble and Tinder and whatever, and I'm like, oh my god, like how do I even talk to people? Like how does this work? Like, do I send a GIF? Is that how I do the opening now? Like do they do the opening for me now? Like I don't know how this works, and it's confusing and it's scary, and I look super weird. Obviously, look at me like hard for me to get matches. So yeah, it's just that whole like dating thing. I feel like I'm behind, whatever behind means now, and that was entirely my choice to like remove myself from those pool of people. The reason I did it was because during the first lockdown there were quite a few people who, like when I matched with them and like we were talking, they were like, hey, let's go to a bar, let's go to a pub, let's go like to a house party, and I was like, haha, no. Like this is lockdown, we need to take this seriously. And I just felt like that only happened a few times, like maybe 3 or 4 times, where I got like invited to like physical places for meetups and stuff, and I was like, I don't really want to do this because it's making me feel uncomfortable, and also it's a lockdown, and like if we just take it seriously in like March and April, maybe we don't have to do this now. So yeah, I just removed myself from that pool of dating, and I think that was a mistake. So I'm now trying to get myself back out there again, so we'll see how that goes in 2021. Okay, so that's what I achieved this year, that's what held me back. We've gone through some of my biggest mistakes too. Now, what are my plans for 2021? I said I'd originally put this as like, what are my plans for 2020? And forgotten that like literally that was this entire year. So that's not great, but we are where we are. Number 1, numero uno, get back to dating. I have no idea where to start with this because I'm so out of touch with it, and I like suffer from a huge body dysmorphia, and like why would anyone like this, because I'm disgusting. But I realise that that's just in my brain and other people think I'm cute, thanks, and therefore I should put myself out there and I should go meet new people and like see where that goes. So I'm definitely going to be kicking that off in the new year. Like I've already installed like some apps and stuff like that, but like thinking about whether there were like friends of friends who can set me up with people or whatever it might be. Definitely get back to dating. One of the things that 2020 and all of the lockdowns and social distancing has taught me is that I really, really miss attending live shows and performances. It's like one of my favourite things to do. So pre-lockdown, I would just like after work on a Thursday or a Friday end up in Soho somewhere partying, and like there would just be live shows happening, or like there'd be theatre performances, or there'd be like something happening. And it was, looking back now, so at like 2019 me, I guess if I'm being really critical about myself, I didn't really see it as that much of a big thing. It was just like, oh yeah, of course we'll go do that, right? Like, yeah, we're in London, yeah, it's fine. Whereas 2020 me has found out that like actually those things are things like to actually fight for, because they are really important, and it's not like a deserved right that those things happen. It sounds weird saying that out loud, but like I've learned the importance this year of valuing those activities and like finding the right groups of people. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I really want to start planning that now, like, oh, I want to go to this show and I want to go with these people and it's going to be great and it's going to be this month or whatever. But also because of the whole coronavirus thing, I feel like it's a bit too early to start actually like concretely planning stuff. So instead I'm like sending messages to groups of friends and like saying like hello and like trying to feel out whether other people who I might want to be going with to like stuff like this are also interested in going to stuff like this. And if they are, then I'm like mentally like, okay, right, when stuff opens up again, you are top of my list of people, and hopefully those people know who they are, which is great. Also, and like this, I guess is like again super personal, but this is the whole point of doing this. Perhaps surgery. I can't even say those words. Surgery. In 2021, I have a GoFundMe. I'll put a link in the video description below for that, which is nearly full, and it's insane and mind-boggling, and it broke my brain so much that people cared so much that like I actually stopped actively promoting it and like tweeting it and like doing all that sort of stuff. I just left it because it got like 2/3 funded in like 2 days, and I was like, oh heck, what have I done? So I thought it would take like years and years and years to get all the way up there, and to be fair, it still might, but it's now close enough that I could like get a really big credit card or something, I don't know. But there's still a few hoops I need to jump through. Like actually today, for example, I had a blood test this morning just to check where my hormone levels are at, and if that blood test comes back in a few days' time as like, yeah, these are the right levels, then I can schedule my next appointment, and my next appointment will be with surgery appointment with the surgeon that I want to go with. Oh no, actually, before that, God, it's such a linear process and so long. And before that, once I get my blood test results, I can write to one of my endocrinologists, and they can confirm that it's at the right levels, and then that confirmation can go through to my second person who like signs me off for surgery because they want the exact number, and we didn't have an up-to-date number we could give them. And why is my fringe being weird? So that will unblock like that bit, hopefully. But if it doesn't, maybe the levels come back and they're not quite right, and I'm not like, in my brain I have like a question mark next to surgery, not because I don't know whether I want it. I absolutely want it. It's whether it will happen in 2021. I've heard, at least in the UK, like quite a few of the operation rooms that they might be using and stuff like that have been dedicated to like COVID related or overspill from hospitals, which like fair enough, like there's a global pandemic going on, like I can get to I can wait a few months, that's okay. Mainly that's okay because I don't have the money or all of the stuff sorted. Like maybe if I had 100% of my money funded and I had time off and I had like all of the hoops jumped through, maybe I'd feel differently about it. At least at the moment it's in my sights of what I want to do, but it's so far away at the moment that maybe this year, maybe the start of next year, as in like 2022, maybe 2021, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely going to be putting like that whole journey up on this YouTube channel because I love radical transparency and radical openness. I think that's how the world like learns and gets better, right? And why wouldn't I want to look back on these videos when I was like super old, whatever super old is for the queer community. And like I've got a really exciting announcement coming in January. So if you're still listening to this video now, maybe you find me interesting enough, and maybe you find my stories interesting enough that you'll be interested in what this announcement is. So subscribe. There should be a red button down below somewhere, because the stuff that's coming out in January I think you'll really like. At least I find them super exciting, and therefore my understanding is that if you're listening to me this far, that you'll also find it exciting. But I don't really know. We're going to find out. Yeah, those are my plans for 2021. What are your plans for 2021? I kind of am interested in this. Maybe I'll start like a Twitter thread and try and get some ideas of what people's plans are for 2021 beyond like go outside and not get coronavirus, which are absolutely fair things to be looking forward to. What other stuff is out there, and what is normal life now? I don't understand it. Going back on the tubes can be really weird. But yeah, I blabbered a bit and I found this really cathartic, so I will probably like barely edit this and throw it up onto YouTube because why not? Thank you so much for viewing this. If you've enjoyed it, please drop a like and also subscribe if you are not subscribed already. I think that's how the YouTube cool kids are meant to say it. I'm still learning all of this. But yeah, hopefully you found it fun and have a lovely day. Bye.